What's up, this is Sane. We're doing an enemy AI tutorial. And this was requested by a YouTuber that was wanted to learn enemy AI bots in skill games. And this is the best way you can create a bot. You can do it in animation, but again, it's gonna get very complicated. And then you can use the object follower event and then pin point A to the camera as its target locking, and the other point you follow OPE it to the player. So what I set up here is I already set up something fast. I have an hour and 20-minute tutorial. Really doesn't help because I think it's way too long and overly complicated and I mess up certain parts. So if you want to make the same AI do shooting and following the character, what I can tell you is you can OP any flying AI to the character like this, and as it's shooting the player, you can have it fly around and shoot the player like that. You understand? Okay. That's just one example. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to really set it up. You just use an interval trigger at 1 tick. Use an object position event. You make sure you turn off local, set rotation, yaw, and then you select the objects you want to target to the player. So you're going to select the emitter, and you're going to select the area effector, okay? But before any of that, you would want to use a glue tool from here, position it properly in the world coordinates, and then glue it, because then it's going to reset the axis. You understand? So how it's targeting the player is you have to use this camera. This camera is going to be on cut and interpolate. It's going to always follow the target object. So what the angle coordinate is going to do, it's going to borrow the angular coordinates of this camera, and it's going to tell whatever object I set it to always follow the designated, to always follow the targeted location. So wherever it aims at, it's going to aim at this. And this is just the following OPE. So we told the camera, this glued object with the 2 tools, and the gargoyle to follow the ball with X, Y, and Z with a calculation of Y to above. So it's always going to follow 2 points above while shooting targets. The emitter is emitting a glued object with an effect in the background here. It's always going to be animated, but the animation is not going to work here because it's constantly being followed OP'd. So this was for a different setup, so you can ignore that. And that's how you make a target locked event. Now make sure that your area effector is at a certain force with no fade, and make sure object instances is the 3D ball. Your 3D ball, you can play around with the object advanced property settings to get the best outcome for the most smoothest gravity in placement, of course. The object gravity is tied to my object gravity I have up there in my first person skill game, which I already made a tutorial for. Hopefully this helps on how to make target enemy AI bots and them following you at all times. So pretty much physics is on. Make sure the physics bubble is big enough. The physics bubble is this big, so you can totally tell that I zoomed back so you could see it. That's all you need. The only thing you need to make an AI bot is literally an interval trigger, 2 OPEs. You can have an advanced OPE setup so you could divide, or you could subtract and add above and below the skill character. So if you wanted the boss to be bouncing up and down or floating in the air, bouncing up and down in a jetpack formation, you could do that. You could also use my setup here So you can have the guy fly around the character while shooting bullets at you. And then you could use state events and hit events for him if he gets trapped in between obstacles to go around. And stuff like that, to go around the player so he's smart enough. You understand what I'm talking about? So everything is going to be targeted because this is the body of the player. This is the physical body of the player, and this is the physical body of my player. Right, you have a 3D animated character on that body, it doesn't really matter because that's the physical body of that player, and that's the physical body of this player. It's always physical body, so within the physics range, it's always going to follow the physical body of the other body no matter where it is, because it's always going to be following the position of the camera based on the angular coordinates of yaw. And the X, Y, and Z coordinates are just going to follow everything to the body above a certain amount. That's all it is. That's all it is. This body has a little bit further, so what you want to do is you want to grab the pivot point, move it back a bit, so the bullets don't collide with the body of the physical character. So the bullets are always shooting in front of the character, so it's not blocking any projectile bullets. You could also set up enemy health using the HUD menus provided by skill games in here. Make sure your values are the same, you set proper values. My 3 bullets that I customly selected over here, whenever my bullets touch the body of the gargoyle, it will decrease by 20 damage. When it goes down to less than 300 damage, lesser equals, the boss will explode or go invisible. If I die and go below that damage, I'll die and I can make a dying screen. In this setup, I did not. So which way, it doesn't matter. The affected target, which is the glued object of this target, the light source and the ball, when it comes in contact with me, it will make the target. Make sure both of these targets are disabled after hit is off, so it's a constant target. Make sure you turn off any of these intervolts because you would need separate intervolts for this because they work on different events. If you use this as the same intervolt, then it doesn't make any sense because you need one for your health and one for each AI because each AI is individual. If you have one for the same AI, because if the AI turns it off, you would always want to have one set for one AI because each AI requires a different interval. If you want to turn, because when the AI dies, it's going to turn off the interval. If you have set it to all of them, it's going to turn off all the intervals, so all the AIs will just die. It doesn't make any sense. If this lags your game, I am sorry. But this is the way it has to be. Each individual AI has to have its own interval trigger for everything to power for that specific AI. So you can have your one set AI logic in its different paths into one group. So every time you make an AI, you would have a certain OPE logic and a certain angle logic for that one AI. Keep everything located to one AI and tie your interval trigger with the same interval trigger up here as your AI. Because when the AI dies, then you can turn everything off at once. It's no longer needed to be activated because it's dead or disabled or you've been defeated. You understand? If you die, then you would have a reset AI functionality, or you would just reset the skill game, so it doesn't really matter. Or you can have a portal reset respawn, enable it that way. So this is just an example. A 10-minute tutorial of setting up a AI. And this is the outcome. The gargoyle shoots at me, it starts taking off my health. I can dodge its bullets and shoot him. If I kill him, it goes invisible because I killed him. So my health is the one on the left side, and his health is on the one on the right side. You understand what I'm talking about? So if I'm going to let him kill me, you can tie a sound source to this. But this is just an example. Then when my health runs 0, I'm gonna die. I didn't make a death event though. This is just an example. So he's constantly always firing bullets, you understand, towards me. It doesn't matter where I am, it's gonna have a delay miss when you miss, so he's not completely pinpoint accurate. There's going to be a little bit of exponential slide you can add. You understand? But he's always going to lock onto me because the camera's always locking onto me. And since it's a physical object, if I go right into him, it doesn't really matter. You see what I'm talking about? Because he won't be able to suck me in. You understand? I can just keep going back and back. But you would always want to disable the damage gun when you touch him. So when you touch him, the emitter should be disabled. So it gives the player a fighting chance. You understand? So whatever type of enemy you want to make, let's say he grapples you or he throws you across the map, you could do that sort of animation. And remember, the trick in the editor is it doesn't have to be always continuous. You can have a movie playing thinking that he threw you across the map, but involuntarily the player did nothing. So it could just be a movie of him grabbing you, throwing you across the map, and then you just teleport the player to that specific position of the camera. So it's all about following coordinates and unfollowing and untargeting coordinates. So that's how you make enemy AIs. It's super simple. In 3D space, you could use animations to pinpoint up and down which way you want the position to go. You could use physics hinges to make the animations a little bit easier. But this is how I make enemy AIs. Hopefully I can help the community, and I want to see more skill games with actual enemy AIs. I would look forward to see that. Go crazy, guys, and show me what you got. So this is Saint the Legend, and that's my tutorial. Laters.